Meanwhile, at home for Chelsea, an intriguing tie for them considering what happened at the weekend as they take on Leeds, who are doing really well in the Championship at the moment. Mauricio Pochettino, speaking ahead of the Leeds game, wanted to clarify some of his comments after the Carabao Cup defeat. We'll first remind you what he had to say on Sunday and then what he had to say today.
The player feel, the disappointment because we were so close to win the game after 90 minutes. And I think we feel a little bit start to lose the energy. And some players like Gallagher or Chile start to feel really, really tired and wish, to maybe use different, player to go in and help. And we need to change Gallagher after 5 minutes, and then in the second half, when they start the second 15 minutes, I think Chilwell, and I think start to the team to feel that maybe the penalty will be good for us, should be good for us. But of course, but we cannot blame, we cannot say nothing. I think the effort was massive, and I am happy with the effort. I think the effort was massive. I want to clarify because sometimes people take my words and put in using in not in the right context. I said, when you were asking me in the press conference, I said maybe the player. And then, when they start to feel that they lose the energy because we were tired, well, sometimes you think not to lose the game and, go to the penalty. I said that, but we never settled the team to go for the penalty. Come on. We are brave people. We are brave, team that always we are going to go for to try to win in 90 minutes or after in extra time. But that is not to use this word because I say maybe. But always before the extra time and the half, time of the extra time, we always say, hey, come on, we need to go. That is why we put offensive player, to try to win the game.
Regardless of what was said.
God, what a pile of mishmash.
I know.
I mean, I've got a lot. I've got nothing against Pochettino. He seems like a really likeable coach and quite a good coach. He's not. I wouldn't say he's not got the CV up there with the top guys, but he seems quite a genuine, straight up guy. But I've got a big problem. Look, the playing for penalties, we can argue about that or whatever happened. The constant word he used there and has continued to use, and he used it after the game, that is really annoying me, is tiredness, right? Because this is suggesting that the other side also were not tired. And if his side were absolutely out on their feet in comparison to Liverpool, then his side are not fit enough. And that's on him. That's on his training. That's on his fitness staff. That's on his sports scientists. But please, Liverpool had to make changes early in the game because of Gravenberch. Liverpool had more problems. Liverpool have more problems within their current playing squad. Not in terms of what they're trying to build, of course. Chelsea are trying to build a new story. Liverpool are not trying to do that. But they've got way more problems in terms of the squad. And both were equally as tired. And to reiterate this, they had a bunch of youngsters on that's barely had any high-level elite game time. And Chelsea did not. So I have a huge issue when it keeps talking about the tiredness, because there's two teams out there. Luis Diaz, for God's sake, man. Luis Diaz could barely move at the end of it. So he was not. They were not alone. They basically, I wouldn't say gave up, but they just almost, it was akin to a boxer just throwing the towel in, hoping to get it on points at the end.
See, I actually disagree purely because I think from watching the game, I think the Chelsea players, because they're so young and they're quite enthusiastic, like Conor Gallagher.
He's 24.
He's 24.
He's not young.
Bags of energy. He loves to get up and down the pitch. I played with him at West Brom. I think he's a great player, but I think that a lot of the Chelsea players lack the streetwise football, where sometimes if a game becomes a bit open, you need to sit in for 5 and get a breather. If you look at Liverpool's players, they always look calm and composed. If things get a little bit frantic, you'll see Van Dijk pulling in a few players and say, listen, let's calm down for a little bit. I don't see that on Chelsea. I don't see any players talking to the teammate next to them and saying, you know, listen, it's got a bit frantic. It's a cup final. Let's just sit for 10 minutes. They blasted themselves trying to get the win because, you know, they were on top for a little bit during that 90 minutes.
Towards the end,
and they just couldn't score. And I think they did run out of steam. But it's just because they're just young, right? It's just inexperience, and But
they made 4 subs. It was Liverpool that were out on their feet after. With the last 20 minutes of this game, Liverpool could barely raise a gallop.
Yeah.
And then both teams had made subs and did make subs, and Chelsea made 4.
Yeah,
and they brought on pacey players. They brought on, you know, the young players. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's the thing, isn't it, Jules? I think which kind of lets down Pochettino's argument is that those 4 players that he brought on, all with experience, all as Craig said, you would put very much in the quick category, made absolutely no impact whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm sorry, I don't buy the Chelsea young players like experience. Enzo Fernandez is a young player, won the World Cup. Caicedo was at the World Cup. Disasi was at the World Cup. I don't see any young players there with no experience. This is not true. And the front 3 was Nkunku, Madueke and Mudryk. All who came on, all who were not tired, all who have experience. None of them is young. Madueke maybe, but he also played in Europe with PSV. He played for England in 21. This is not a lack of experience. This is very different to McConnell and Clark and Dans. They have 0 experience. They kind of never played with that first team. The others, I don't buy the lack of experience at all from an Enzo Fernandez or a Caicedo, for example. So I think Pochettino, to try to rectify what he said after the game today, makes it worse, really. And I think he only is answering all the criticism that he rightly received. It's not acceptable. Imagine if you're Burley and Ekbali in the stands at Wembley and your team is on top and suddenly you see them stop playing and then your own manager, after you spend £1 billion, saying like, yeah, we played for penalties. I mean, this is just not acceptable. I'm sorry, it's not acceptable. And he can say whatever he wants. I think he meant it, what he said on Sunday after the game. I think now he's trying to backtrack it because he saw how bad this all was. And again, rightly so. And again, today, if they were not to beat Leeds tomorrow at home, this would be an absolute disaster. It'd be a car crash.
Listen, you know, if Thiago Silva had been playing, and he wasn't available, he wouldn't have played anyway. But had he been playing at 39, and they were in extra time, and he's absolutely knackered, and they'd no alternatives, then I would absolutely understand if he had to drop on the edge of his own box, because he was basically screwed. Right, and at that age, I would imagine you would be at that stage in the game, and then that would drag everybody back, or it had potential to drag everybody back. But he wasn't there. It was fit, strong guys, you know, in the back line. And I keep saying this. I've been saying it since we did this final on Sunday. They seceded so much ground in extra time that it basically allowed these Liverpool, and I'm repeating myself for about the 55th time. It allowed these completely inexperienced players that Jules just mentioned to go out and enjoy the extra time in the cup final and feel that they were supposed to be there. Whereas what Chelsea should have been doing was getting at McConnell, was getting at Clark, was getting at Konsa, was making this the most horrible, uncomfortable experience for them as youngsters, and that's what you do as a player, but they didn't do it. They all just sort of dropped off. And I've got there's no rhyme nor reason to why that last 20 minutes in normal time turned into what we saw in extra time. I don't think, anyway.
Moving away from the cup final now. If you're Leeds, you're loving this, aren't you, Kieran? Going down against a wounded Chelsea side. You're doing flying in the Championship. Go in there pretty much with a free pass. Chelsea win, OK, the Premier League, $1 billion, whatever. But you go there, you beat Chelsea, makes your season even better, and then really amps that pressure on Poch.
Oh, yeah. These are the games that you relish, especially, you know, when you're in the tier below, to prove yourself, test yourself against Premier League opposition. I think they're going to be really up for this, and it could potentially get even more messy somehow for Chelsea.
The FA Cup's great. Right? We love the FA Cup. Go to Wembley if you're a player. Final day of the season, 100,000 or just less. But for Leeds United, they're bang in the middle of a potential automatic return promotion to the Premier League. So this, for them, is absolutely the free hit that you talk about.
Yep.
They go down there, they play their stuff, they try and be cute, and they try and give Chelsea a bloody nose. Middlesbrough did it at the Riverside. Were unable to do it at Stamford Bridge in the second leg of the was this competition? It was the Carabao Cup, and or was it the FA?
It's the Carabao Cup. It's the two.
It was the Carabao Cup, and I'd no need to mention Middlesbrough. That just confused it. But Leeds are a much better side.
Yeah.
And so this game coming around for Pochettino, and listen, nobody, if Leeds were to knock Chelsea out, and, you know, it's not within the realms of possibility that could happen, there is absolutely not a sausage in hell chance he can come out and say, we were tired. Absolutely.
Really doesn't
Is that a saying?
Absolutely.
Sausage in hell.
There's absolutely no chance.
What do you do with it, sausage?
Absolutely no chance he can come out and say, well, we were beaten because we were tired. Because fans just don't want to hear it.